This week on the podcast, we are joined by Jason from the Review Suite. We're talking about Windows 11. Green and I share our thoughts on Hunt Showdown. We talk with Jason about Raspberry Pi. All of that and more in this week's episode. Roll the intro. Hello and welcome to Next to Nothing, a podcast for gamers on a budget. I'm your host, Danie K. With me, as always, the wonderful, the beautiful, the Mr. Greenlee. Green, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I was off for like a week and a half, roughly, due to some stuff, and I got back at it, and now I'm doing great. How you doing, Danny?
I'm doing fantastic. I started a new job yesterday. It's been a very interesting and I'm not going to say stressful, but the term drinking from the fire hose has been thrown around a lot with me for the last 48 hours. But I'm doing great. I'm very happy to have our guest here, Jason, who has, I remarked, and I'm going to say this again real quick, you have one of the crispiest cameras we've ever had on the show. Holy cow, dude, it looks so good.
Hey, man, the magic of Sony.
Yeah.
But thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Welcome to the show. Jason, for those who don't know you, haven't met you yet, who are you, what do you do, and where can people find you?
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Jason, and my YouTube channel is called The Review Suite. Basically, it started as a tech channel, and recently I've gotten into Raspberry Pis and single board computers, so if that's something you're into, you can find me at youtube.com/The Review Suite.
Yeah, so I, real quick, because I do want to make a recommendation for people out there. I did find your channel, like, looking for, like, some Raspberry Pi stuff, but one video especially caught my attention, and that was your magnetic vase mount for iPad Pro, I think?
Yeah.
I think it's like a year old right now, but it's still a fantastic, like, if you're into DIY and you have something like that, great video. Fantastic video. That's actually a personal recommendation. I'll make sure if you're watching on YouTube, guys, I'll put a card to it right now. Future Danny, please remember that. So you guys can find that video in the corner. But guys, we appreciate you for watching and listening. If this is your first time with us, we hope that you enjoy and get a lot of value out of the show. If you miss any part of the show, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere podcasts are found. Each week we have a question of the week. This week, courtesy of Jason. And it is not how do you like to stay hydrated. I forgot to change. I knew I was forgetting something. I was sitting there.
He was a wreck, too. Like, I'm forgetting something so bad.
I'm forgetting something, and it was the one thing. It's actually, how many games are in your backlog? How many games are in your backlog? Let us know in the YouTube comments or live here in the channel right now. Or you guys can, of course, tweet at us at Danie K if you want to tweet at me specifically, DANIECAE. Green? You're my brain right now. Is there anything that I'm missing in terms of like housekeeping?
I don't think so. I think we're good. I think we're golden.
Cool. Let's start with our game that you and I have gotten some time to play over the last couple weeks. I've gotten some time to play the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I played I think well over 10 hours now.
Yeah. I think I'm right around maybe the 20 or 30 mark. I think 20.
Yeah, you definitely got a head start on me.
Yeah. So we're talking about Hunt Showdown. Hunt Showdown is a first-person shooter by Crytek that focuses on a blend of PvE and PvP action in a free-for-all style. It's a game I've personally been eyeballing for a really long time. Actually, about the time that I started streaming, I had kind of been looking at this game as something to even stream. I just never jumped into it for a variety of reasons. Like at the time that I started streaming and was interested in playing it, it was in early access. It kind of still was a little janky, but it's really seemed to iron out a lot of its bugs over the last 3 or 4 years. I need to pull up the specs real quick, but just like first impressions, Green. How are you feeling about it?
I have this. Actually, I have the specs. Yeah.
You do. Excellent.
Minimum is 64-bit processor, Windows 10. Processor i5 4590 or AMD Ryzen 3 1200. Requires 8 gigs of RAM. An NVIDIA GeForce GTX 660 or 660 Ti or an AMD Radeon R7 370 with a minimum of 3 gigs of VRAM. It requires DirectX 11 and storage space 20 gigs.
Yeah, it's also available for the PS4 and Xbox One. I would assume it's going to, because it is a persistent game, I'm going to assume that it will get ports for PS5 and the Series S and X at some point. It is available on Steam, like you mentioned. It is actually, I think right now, 50% off.
Yep, currently 50% off due to the Steam Summer Sale.
Mm-hmm.
Normally $39.99. Right now it's $19.99, which is
Yeah.
I think it's a good deal.
Yeah, and it's actually the lowest price it's ever been. It's ever been. It's the lowest it's ever gone is 50%. According to SteamDB, for anyone that is interested in it. Jason, have you ever played Hunt Showdown at all?
No, this is my first time hearing about it, and from the looks of it, looks pretty dope.
It is
like shooting up stuff.
Yeah, I think it's one of the more unique shooters on the market right now, and one that doesn't. It has an audience. I don't think it has as large of an audience as it probably should. It seems to be more of a cult following game. Maybe along the lines of like Dead by Daylight, where Dead by Daylight kind of has more of like a cult following than not really. So let's talk about some of the basics real quick. You load into a map. I think there's 2 maps right now with a third on the way. And you and your team go through the map hunting down clues that will lead you to a monster. Some games have 2 monsters and the map is like split into 2 zones, like east, west, north, south. Or it could even be diagonal with like a primary monster and a secondary monster. And if you cross the zone, the clues on one side of the border will lead you to the primary or the secondary and vice versa. Once your team locates the monster, you will have to survive a fight with it, wait for the banishing ritual to complete, and then extract from the map. All while protecting yourself from other players and mobs on the map. And firefights in this game get really, really intense. They are adrenaline pumpers. There are 5 bosses, I think.
I believe so. It's like 5 or 6.
There's the butcher, the spider, which the spider is the creepiest of them all, just because it makes a scuttling noise.
Yeah, chittering and stuff like that.
And I think it moves the fastest too. So like
it's a zippy boy.
It zips and it like climbs up on ceilings and stuff like that.
Is it like the tickers from Gears of War?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't played the Gears of War games, so I don't know.
Okay.
It's very much like the arachnophobe's worst nightmare.
Yeah, it's like a 6-foot tall spider.
Yeah.
A tarantula, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and go ahead.
I was gonna say we had Scrapbeak, the butcher,
assassin.
The spider, the assassin, and I think there's one more.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% sure.
And one thing I forgot to mention is you also, as a hunter, have this power called dark vision that basically shows you where clues are. So it like basically makes you blind to everything except for where clues, bounties, and some other things are. Once you banish a monster, it will drop 2 bounty tokens, and when you have a bounty token, it first off shows the entire map where you are, where it's like you are now revealed to everybody. It also gives you 5 seconds of a boosted dark vision where you can see other hunters around you. And you can use that to like quickly like look around. Okay, where are these guys that are trying to track me down? Are they here? No, we're good. Okay, let's keep moving. And you can periodically check, and you get 5 seconds of that. And it takes some like communication between you and your teammates to make sure that like, hey, I still have like 3 seconds on this. You still have like your full 5 seconds. And you know, a lot of communication is required for this game. This is a game I would recommend at least have one other friend that plays. I don't know how enjoyable it would be for someone who doesn't have at least one other friend who plays, or someone who is not good at making friends in online games. If you're one of those people who just who hate pubs, this might not be a game for you if you don't have anyone else who plays. There are also what I'm going to call them mini bosses on the map. There's like the Hive, which is this zombified woman with like a poisonous hornet's nest like growing out of her. There's there are multiple of them on the map. The meathead, which like is essentially blind except for like these slugs that are around him, or like these leeches that like once the leech gets on you, it's like he will target you. There's armored grunts. There's probably the most annoying one in my opinion, like next to the Hive, is what's the flamey boy called? We started calling Emulator, yeah. Ghost Rider looking motherfucker. But what happens is if you hit him with anything sharp or pierce him with like a bullet or anything, he decides to go volcanic on you and like erupts in like flames,
like the Human Torch.
Yeah.
Boof.
Wow.
Boof. So yeah, you have all of that to survive while finding the boss, as well as other players. And then you have all of that and other players to survive as you extract, because you have to kill the boss, take the bounty, and then go to an extraction point in order to effectively win the game, win the round. You can, if you can decide, like, okay, that team already got a bounty. It looks like someone else is already fighting the other boss. I'm not feeling confident in like trying to take these other guys out. Let's just go kill some grunts and then like extract out. You can totally decide to do that. A big part of the game is that hunters are individuals, and they are unique, and you can lose progress in gear that you've made on them if you die. Now, if you are a new player and you get to and you're under level 11, everything persists. You won't lose hunters. But past that point, you'll start to lose hunters, right? So if you have like one of my hunters is like named Yuri Blazov or something like that, and he has like a rifle and a pistol. If I were to die in a game with Yuri Blazov, I would effectively lose all of his perks. I would lose him and all of his traits as well as his weapons. But if I go in there and like I win a game with Yuri and I take a rifle off of someone else's body and go and extract out, I actually get to keep that rifle. So I got a really cool rifle doing that. It was called like the Sniper's Gift. It's like a special weapon, which is pretty dope. Is there anything else I missed in the game? Oh, there is a quick play mode. It's more of like a traditional battle royale where like you load in, it gives you actually a random loadout. The game mode is a bit different where you have to find things for like a wellspring, and whoever holds the wellspring last, or when the game ends, wins. But if you survive that game with that hunter, the equipment that you have and the hunter will be available to add to your regular hunter rosters. So it's a cool way to get some more equipment, more hunters, and stuff like that. Anything else I missed in the gameplay loop there, Green?
I would say the only thing that I could mention is there's a heavy sound mechanic.
Yes.
So like
I was gonna
dogs
get to
and
that here in a
birds.
little bit. Go ahead though. Continue. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you like that.
I don't know. It's yeah, the sound mechanics are a big thing. There's birds and ducks that are scattered across the map that will make a sound alert, and they'll fly off in the opposite direction of where you spooked them at, and then you can use those as cues to see where other enemies are, as well as like dogs and cages and there's like
Dying
broken
horse.
glass and yeah, the horse is there's like an injured horse that if you get too close, it starts whinnying and stuff like that. So um, you definitely want to like when you're playing, that's something that you need to be mindful of.
Yeah.
I found that out real quick.
Yeah.
So,
There's also like sticks in like the forest, which are like very distinct. So like if you're like walking through and you hear like a you're like, oh shit. Hopefully somebody else wasn't hiding in the grass at this exact moment in time. And you're right, I think one of the biggest development choices that they made was making the game audio focused, very audio focused. It's binaural. This is a game that you want to have a decent set of headphones or headsets with, so you can hear the directional audio. You can hear and like discern from all sorts of directions, and you can kind of determine distance and stuff. It's actually really impressive what they did with the audio. I would say very similar, if not better, than the audio design in Insurgency Sandstorm, which people know is, when it comes to sound design, is one of my like top tier. That New World Interactive did a great job with that. I think Crytek did a great job with their audio design here as well. Visually,
other companies can take note.
yeah. do you want to call them out?
Yeah, fucking Warzone, Apex had great audio season 1, but then it for some reason they spaghetti coded it to where it's like 50 on whether you're gonna get like good audio or not. So
yeah.
Wow. I just reinstalled Apex on my PC.
very fun. It's
Yeah.
despite that very enjoyable.
Yeah, I still say Arena is the best thing that game ever decided to do. I barely play the Battle Royale mode anymore. I still go to arenas almost every time if I'm playing by myself. I think the only times I play Battle Royale anymore is with Green. So yeah, a lot of the gameplay, combat, navigation is really enhanced by the audio design of this game. Visually speaking, the game is fantastic. The mobs on the map look creepy. Everything has this hazy, swampy feel in regards to like the lighting. Like it has like a bit of god rays, and everything looks kind of misty.
It feels very gloomy.
Yeah, very gloomy. The game is set in Texarkana in the I don't know the exact years, but I'm guessing somewhere between the 1890s and 1910s. So very late 19th century, early 20th, with a lot of that rural, folksy kind of look to it. All the buildings are kind of decrepit and look like they're ready to fall apart. There's no real modern infrastructure except for like you like go to a prison and like, oh yeah, this looks like the place that Elvis sang at, and the weapons are, for the most, I'm not a weapons expert, but for the most part, they are like of that time period, right? You're not going to see machine guns or SMGs in this game. You are going to see melee, single action revolvers. You're going to really feel like a cowboy out there with your lever action. And I think there is a pump shotgun in the game. There's also bolt action rifles and some early semi-automatic weapons, which I actually really like. It's a gun called the Bronheim. It's like an early bolt action for the it's a semi-automatic pistol, and I absolutely love that gun. It's like one of my favorites. But each weapon does have different variants, which have different modifications. You don't mod the weapon yourself. Rather, you buy the weapons with the mods already installed. So a great example is there's the Nagant 1895, which is a single action revolver. With that, you can get it with a silencer. So now it's the Nagant Silent. Or you can get it with a buttstock on it. So they like put a wooden buttstock on this pistol. And so now that's the Nagant Precision. You can get scopes on it, so now it's the Nagant Deadeye, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of variations to these weapons. Weapons are period accurately clunky. Like I said, they're single actions, right? So they're kind of slow. You have to like cock the hammer back every time. There's no automatic reload, which is hurt me quite a few times. Where you have to, manually load, and then you're like individually, inserting the cartridges into the cylinder.
And it can take forever.
They can take forever, yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else with the weapons. That you can get like, so some of the melee weapons, some of them are like, you can get like a rapier. Or a saber, I think is actually what it is, which I got murked by. Apparently, people really liked it on Instagram. I posted it. This dude just murked me with a saber. He came screaming something. It sounded like he was screaming French at me, and then just stabbed me right in the gut with it as I missed all my shots on him.
I got taken out with a pitchfork. I traded with someone with a pitchfork.
Yeah, there are like improvised weapons on the. You can like pick up. Weapons like axes, sledgehammers, pitchforks. Mm-hmm.
Lanterns. You can pick up lanterns and throw them and cause a fire.
Yeah. So
if you're gonna kill me. Don't be screaming at me too. Just kill me.
Yeah. It was just one of those situations. He took out my partner. I'm like looking for him. I'm crouching. I got like my silent. I'm akimbo is silent with silent Nagants trying to like find him. I hear him running around, and like he's running at me so fast, and like I like whiff. I put 2 over his shoulder, put another 2 over the other shoulder as he's like approaching me, and then he goes shank. I'm like, oh no. So yeah, I think we covered a lot of the gameplay. Everything feels good. I actually, everything like aesthetically, I think matches. Weapons are fun. Overall, the experience is well worth $20. I would say if it's like it's on sale now, go on ahead and do it for $20 if you can. I actually also wouldn't complain if I spent $40 on this. I will say I got this gifted to me by a viewer. They were looking for someone to play with, so they gifted it to me. But I would actually willingly pay $40 for this experience. I think it is. Yeah. I think it is a good, solid experience. There's not any extra purchases required afterwards. I think there may be like some cosmetic or DLC purchases, but they're not required, especially not for a full experience, like to get the full experience of the game. Yeah, definitely for on sale. Pick it up, $20. If you decide you like it enough after this and it's not on sale, I still think it's worth $40 for sure. Green, how about you?
Yeah, I would definitely say like I was planning on picking it up, and then it just so happened the summer sale was like conveniently placed to when I actually decided to buy it. I think the game felt extremely crisp. Like it was a real palate cleanser for me. Because I've been playing a lot of first person shooters that specifically battle royales. So like I've been getting burnt out on Apex and Warzone stuff like that, and this game just felt good. Right, even like the combat, like everything felt pretty balanced for weapon wise. There's the learning curve of like figuring out what weapon is good for you. But I thought it was very fun. I definitely enjoyed it. I'm glad I picked it up for 19.99, but I definitely wouldn't hesitate to pick it up for 39.99. It was definitely fun. I this is something I will continue to play.
Yeah, it's definitely going to make its way into my regular rotation. I think this is going to be a regular Saturday night game for me on my stream. Jason, any thoughts, questions, opinions you want to get out there?
I mean, it looks dope. I think if I were to buy it, I would buy it now at $20. But it would just go on the shelf like the rest of my backlog games. But no, I like period games. If you played an original Call of Duty, again, you're stuck with those weapons that they actually use. So it makes you think a little bit more critically about how you're going to survive. So I do like that aspect of this game. Well, from what I've seen in your gameplay footage. So
yeah,
interesting.
Actually, you just gave me a great question. I'm gonna follow up on with Green here because he's actually not a huge fan of period shooters. So what makes this game more appealing to you than something like Enlisted or Battlefield 1?
I feel like this one had more like options. Like it's not just like a Springfield. Like you're not just using a Springfield. It's like you can get one that has like a good sight on it, or you can get one that has like melee equipment on it. And I don't know, it just felt different. I think it might have been the aspect that it's like zombie-esque as well that might change it for me. So
Gotcha. So that was Hunt Showdown, and I think we should look to the future. Right, we spent some time in the past. Let's look to the future with Windows 11. Green, go on ahead and tell us.
11. Nice segue. So Windows 11 was announced late last week, introducing it itself as a big upgrade from the current generation of Windows. So a few things that they've announced with Windows 11 are widgets have made their way back into the new OS. The start menu and taskbar have been moved to the middle of the bottom of the screen, so the traditional left-hand corner. Microsoft says it will be easier to set up multiple monitors, which will be interesting to see because I feel like it's really pretty simple as it is to set up multiple monitors, being as I've done it before. Windows are able to be translucent now from this Windows 11 update. And Microsoft is saying that touchscreens will be more intuitive. We had that with Windows 8 when they were working on, like, they were first introducing like the touchscreen tablets, the idea book or something like that, where it's like you can fold the laptop in half and it turns into a tablet and you can touch the screen. They're saying that they've worked on that a lot. Windows 11 will be getting some Xbox features as well. That's where a lot of gamers that watch our channel would probably be more interested in. One of the features is called Direct Storage API, which allows games to store directly to GPU memory, which should theoretically make them make for a faster load time. They also confirmed auto HDR for games created with DirectX 11 or higher, which makes the games feel more crisp, more stabilized frame rate. One thing that Microsoft made clear is that Windows 11 will require a TPM 2.0 chip or a trusted platform module. TPMs are usually installed in motherboards, but there's a wide selection of boards in use that don't have one and will require people to purchase them separately. This has already caused a boom in scalping for TPMs. So if you're one of the people that have a board or CPU that doesn't have a TPM in it and want to switch to Windows 11, I would recommend not wasting any time to pick one up because they are starting to go off the shelves. So I've heard there was a live stream today that Raspberry Pi will actually be supporting Windows 11 as well. There's a way to get Windows 11 on Raspberry Pi when it comes out. I'm not sure to which extent that will be. But yeah,
there is one of my favorite YouTubers who covers Raspberry Pis, ETA Prime. I haven't watched it yet, but he put out a video today about that, about Windows 11 running on the Raspberry Pi. Quite sure you're going to need an 8 gigabyte Pi to run Windows 11. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Also, Windows hasn't really, or like Microsoft hasn't like announced yet what CPUs will work for Windows 11. They've been kind of quiet about it, so we're not sure like if older CPUs are going to be able to handle running Windows 11. So that's something we're going to be keeping an eye out for as well.
Yeah.
Because if you're with someone with a really old rig that you haven't upgraded yet, I honestly probably wouldn't get your hopes up about Windows 11 just yet.
Yeah.
So
it is going to be a free upgrade for anyone who
for the
has
holiday
one
season.
for the holiday season. But as Green said, they haven't really explained what hardware is going to be supported. I think anyone with a mid-range PC or higher that's been built within the last couple of years will be fine.
Definitely check your motherboard manual to see if you have a TPM already installed in your board. A lot of boards will have that already, but as I said, like I'm sure my bedroom PC doesn't have a TPM in it. So because it's a board from 2013, something like that.
Yeah.
So
So
it's like a budget board.
Jason, how do you feel about Windows 11?
I'm not jumping out of my seat happy about it. I think the UI refresh is good, but I can't help but think that Microsoft is refreshing the UI because so many people have moved over to macOS or Linux where they have a lot more creative freedom, I would suspect, on those operating systems, especially Linux. But as someone who uses multiple monitors, I can appreciate the new snap features.
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to mention too.
Yeah, I've been holding back on getting a new monitor because my setup is constantly changing, and I just don't like. I'm at a place now where, like, I'm good as far as being productive, like working from home half the time. So, but no, that's a cool feature. Beyond that, just I'm not super excited. Just don't ruin my games whenever I do play.
Yeah,
I don't want any compatibility issues out of the box. But beyond, yeah.
And my biggest thing is like when it's being first released, like a new UI. How many bugs are we actually going to run into, especially in the first few months? Yeah, I don't get me wrong. Windows 10, I have a very strong hate relationship with, especially the updates. Like every update ruins something, whether it be like my audio or game settings or OBS settings, something like that. It's I can't imagine moving to a brand new UI and hoping that there's no major bugs that affect that again.
Yeah. Yeah, or especially with audio. A Windows update doesn't go by without fucking up audio. Constantly.
Always. It always changes my stuff.
I had to uninstall the drivers for my audio interface, my PreSonus audio interface, and then reinstall them. Just so that OBS would then recognize my audio input. I've also had it where I've had to uninstall OBS and then reinstall it after a Windows update. So you're right, like that's a big problem with Windows updates. They seem to just destroy everything. And without question, and I don't necessarily know why. But you mentioned the snaps feature, right? That's what it's called. Where
Snap, yeah.
right. So there's already there where you can like drag a window to the corner, and it'll auto-populate, like, or it'll, like, take up half the screen, and then it'll do, like, ask you what other window you want to do to take up the other half of the screen, which I use that a lot. Like, I'm actually using it right now, where I have podcast notes on one half of the screen, and then I have something monitoring the stream on the other, and then I have OBS over here. And so I'm constantly using that myself, and I always use it for, like, when I was in school. I'd always have my PDFs up on one side, I'd have, Google Docs on the other, or, whatever, if I'm working on a presentation, anything like that. So to have more flexibility with that, because I think what I saw was that, like, it would even let you do, like, 3 windows on a screen. So you can do left, right, and center. I think that was part of the feature I saw. I think there was maybe even a top and bottom configuration I think I saw. Right? Or am I making that up?
No, yeah. It's real quick, but there is multiple configurations for that new snap feature.
Yeah. Which I like. I mean, that's not a gamery thing, but that's just, it's a nice productivity tool.
Yeah.
The only thing I saw that I really don't necessarily care for is the centered taskbar. But I also have this thing with, I don't like UI that is centered that much, because I like to look left to right and have, like, my usually, like, a taskbar, a menu on the left, and, like, being able to, move from one side to the screen to the other without having to basically read a bunch of ragged edges on the screen. So I don't know.
Yeah,
go ahead.
You want to see things like you're reading a book.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know how
I'm so used to it too.
Yeah. Well,
it's always been traditionally, left and right.
Yeah. Just for me, like, centered UI, it doesn't feel good. I don't know, just visually speaking, and, like, having to operate with like a centered UI, it's usually not my favorite thing in the world. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to what I was feeling. Yeah, I'm totally speculating here, but again, like, they're sort of borrowing that look from Mac OS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're trying to get people to come back over, I get that. But I think they have said that you can go back to the traditional start menu if you wanted to in Windows 11.
Yeah, hopefully UI and stuff like that, they do offer quite a bit of freedom, which they do offer a lot of freedom with Windows 10 as it is now. Like, it's not like Linux amount of freedom, which a lot of Linux kernels you can turn it upside down if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
If we're talking about freedom, like, in designing your UI and how things operate. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. The TPM thing, I saw that yesterday. I was watching a video from, I think it was Gamer Ranks or something like that, where they were saying that people were already running a grift on TPM cards or TPM chips.
Oh, yeah.
Just after the announcement, which I'm just like, great, let's just put down another thing in which we're going to run a grift on. GPUs, power supplies, storage. Let's go ahead and run a grift on everything.
Paying 10 times on a chip that you didn't know you needed until now.
Yeah.
Like, nobody, like, you might as well just buy a new, like, you might as well just build a new system at that point if you're dropping that kind of cash. Like, especially if, you have the potential to upgrade.
Yeah. Save your hard drive, put it in the new machine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, was there anything else, like any other speculation that you guys saw on Windows 11? I haven't delved as deep into it as I probably should have.
I shouldn't be so negative about Windows 11, but this whole side-loading Android apps, I feel like it's going to fall on its face too.
Oh yeah, we didn't even mention
this process. Yeah, like why? Like, why not just work with Google directly?
Yeah,
like, you have to. Yeah, you have to sign into Amazon, and then it only works when with this Intel software. Like, nah, I don't want to do all this.
Yeah, so instead of getting a third-party Android emulator, you'll now be able to natively run Android apps, right, through some sort of emulation that Microsoft put together, and then you can only get the apps through Amazon. Like you have to have like an Amazon account, which
Right.
I can see very few outside of gaming, right? Because I'm sure, like, if you want to play Raid Shadow Legends or Clash of Clans, go on ahead. Productivity wise, I can only think of a few small use cases, like Instagram, right? Like if you are if you're a part of a marketing team or something like that, where you need to run Instagram, and because there's no official way to upload to Instagram through your desktop. I think you have to do some wacky shit, or have to get like a third party app or something to do it. That's like one of the only use cases I could really think of. And then maybe if you're an app developer where you want to test something, but then you'd also have to, unless there's like a way, like you'd be able to do like dev builds through it, like run like a dev build on the emulator, because otherwise you'd have to sideload it. You'd have to make the update or the app go live on the App Store to run it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was like maybe 5 years ago. I read an article somewhere that even Google, they don't even develop like Android apps on Windows PCs. Like like everywhere at Google they use Macs. So it's like, and I know that you can upload content to YouTube. I'm sorry, Instagram video, TV, whatever their side app is from your PC. But like, I don't know. I guess it's for those folks. Like I spent a lot of time on Reddit, specifically the iPad Pro Reddit, and a lot of people want a dedicated Instagram application like on the tablet. I'm like, they're not going to give it to you. But this might be an opportunity to have a desktop experience on with Instagram. But yeah. But even that, I mean, I get that example, but even that is reaching. Like I think people are gonna use Android applications on their Android device.
Yeah. The only other time I could think it's really people are gonna use it is if they want to play like Clash of Clans or something on their PC.
Yeah.
I can't. Go ahead.
No, you got it. Go ahead.
I was to say, I can't think of any other use cases, again, except for like Instagram, and that's very niche. That's like people working in marketing departments or newsrooms.
Yeah. And I mean, and this is sideloading apps, period, is too.
Oh, did he freeze?
It's too. You can run.
Oh, there he goes.
Okay,
you froze
you can
for a
run.
little bit.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Am I good now?
You're good now.
You're good
now. Okay. But like even on M1 Max, you can load iOS and iPad apps on your MacBook now. So it's like, but even that like still doesn't appeal to me enough. Like I want to use Instagram on my phone. You know?
Yeah.
Like if I'm gonna listen to an audiobook, and I'm at home, I'm likely gonna listen to it from my phone. I may listen to it in the browser, but yeah, I don't know. It's just it's too new for me to really call it a good feature. It seems
very niche. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that we missed for the Windows 11 update?
Not that I can think of.
Jason,
at least it's free.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least it's free.
At least it's free, especially for Windows Windows users, Windows 10 users already. That'll be a free upgrade, which will be nice. let's go on ahead. We'll take a 2-minute break, and then we'll come back and talk about Raspberry Pis. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Ad break.
Please join us for Summer MIDICon 2021. This event is open to the public at Iowa Brewing Company in downtown Cedar Rapids, Iowa. There is a 2-drink minimum in order to attend this event. Come meet like-minded creatives right here in Iowa. Network and collaborate with other live streamers, video makers, podcasters, and influencers. Just a fan? Come have a few drinks with your favorite content creators. This is a safe and welcoming event with a focus on community building and growth. All ages and experience levels are welcome. Enjoy delicious and refreshing locally made beer in the gorgeous Iowa Brewing Company tap room. Kombucha and a soda fountain are also available for non-alcoholic and underage attendees. Iowa Brewing Company does not provide food at their location, but encourages you to order from other amazing local businesses in downtown Cedar Rapids. So join us for this amazing event, Saturday, July 24th, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And welcome back to the show, everybody. Thank you for letting us take that break. So, Jason, one of the big reasons I wanted to bring you on was you know a little bit about Raspberry Pi. And Raspberry Pi is a topic that I've been wanting to do on this show going for like a year and a half.
Yeah, almost since I started the show.
Yeah.
He's been talking about Pi, getting someone on for Pi.
Yeah, it's such an interesting family of technology, and I've never gotten into it. I've really wanted to have a discussion with somebody, and so I really do thank you for coming on and being willing to talk about Raspberry Pi.
Oh, well, thanks for having me again. Yeah, the community behind Raspberry Pi is very strong, and I think a lot of people are drawn to it for various reasons. The maker community is its own, huge group of just makers, just like doing stuff with like not just Raspberry Pi, but like single board computers, 3D printing, you name it, like somebody has done it. And what drew me to Raspberry Pi initially was retro gaming. And I had did some retro emulation in the past, but to have something so small that can run like almost all the old school systems is like amazing to me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I've gotten more in. I've gotten into Linux operating systems. Just the like 3D printing, like just everything you can possibly imagine with Raspberry Pis. Like there's something out there for it, and there's somebody who's done it or is working on it.
Yeah,
for sure.
So, right, because we've said the name. I want to kind of contextualize it here for a second, and start with the basics. What is Raspberry Pi, and like what does it include?
So, the Raspberry Pi is, again, a single board computer. And if you know what a computer is, typically it's a motherboard with a CPU, with RAM, some I/O ports, and a port for power somewhere. So basically, you have a ARM processor, you have a RAM module, you have your general purpose pins there, like on the side you have some USB ports, Ethernet, you have these little tabs here for cameras, for video and audio. You have a 3.5 millimeter audio jack, 2 micro HDMI ports, and a USB Type-C port for power. I don't know if you guys can see that. But yeah, it's essentially a computer about the size of a credit card. And if you guys want to learn more about it, those of you who are watching, you can jump on to raspberrypi.org and just learn about, the story behind it. The Raspberry Pi Foundation has really made computers accessible to different groups by offering it at such a low price. The Raspberry Pi 4, I think now starts at $35 for the 2 GB model, and you can get them in 2 GB with 2 GB of RAM, 4 and 8 GB, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so small, but it has so much potential. We just talked about it running Windows, so there's a build for that. It runs, well, the Raspberry Pi's operating system is Raspberry Pi OS, which is which is based on Debian, which is like the OG desktop Linux operating system. So for you Linux folks out there, you know what I'm talking about. If you are familiar with Ubuntu, that is based on Debian. Ubuntu Mate, those are Debian builds. So if you know about Debian, you probably know about the Raspberry Pi. So
Yeah, Linux is one of those rabbit holes we still haven't gone down on the show, and that's a big one. That's a big one. So you mentioned one use case, which was like retro gaming. What are some of like the other common ways you have seen Raspberry Pi used?
Well, more recently with the Raspberry Pi 4, people are starting to use them as dedicated desktop PCs. We see computers like the Intel NUC or the Lenovo Tiny Think Centers. Like those are like your typical business enterprise PCs that you see in like offices or like a bank or something where the teller is pulling up your information. But you get something like a Raspberry Pi, you have a full desktop operating system. You can stream 4K video. If you didn't want to run an operating system like Raspberry Pi OS, but you still wanted to consume media, you can install Kodi, Plex servers. I have a Raspberry Pi Zero inside of my GPi case, and sorry about that, but this is a Game Boy style emulation device that looks like the original DMG, but it has.
Oh, sorry, it looks like you froze there. Give me a second.
Button tear this down right now, but like man, like so do. If you're into 3D printing, there's an operating system that you can install on Raspberry Pi 4. It's called Octoprint. Basically, you can control your 3D printer from the
Looks like Jason's having some problems.
Cloud or your local network, and you can upload them and send them to your printer. If your 3D printer is like in your garage or something, you can be upstairs on your couch and just start printing right from there without even having to get up. So yeah, a lot of applications.
Yeah. So real quick, I might have you go over some of that again. It looks like you're freezing up just a little bit. Let me go on ahead and like send us to another break real quick. If you could leave the call and join again and see if that helps fix it. Give me one moment. All right, we're back. So you were talking about a Game Boy emulator, right?
Yeah. So again, this is the Retro Flag GPi case, and this is powered by the Raspberry Pi Zero. Again, looks like the original DMG. It's a little bit smaller and it has 4 buttons. It also has 2 shoulder buttons back here on the back, and you can install RetroPie or Recall Box on this, and you can play pretty much anything from PS1 down, with maybe with the exception of N64, some N64 games. But yeah, it's an awesome little device. But yeah, retro emulation is one of the more popular use cases for Raspberry Pis, but it's certainly not the only one.
Yeah, and I've seen people make like homemade arcade, like standing arcade consoles. There's a Instagram that I follow called Retro Dodo, who specializes in those like retro remix consoles that look like Game Boys or Game Boy Advances or Pockets or Vitas and stuff like that. So what are some? You mentioned like some enterprise stuff, and I have one in mind that I'll throw out there too. But what are some like non-gamer uses for Raspberry Pi?
So I mentioned 3D printing. If you're into robotics or small motors, you can run Arduino IDE on these. Gosh, man, what else? Magic Mirror. We talked about Magic Mirror before the show started. I've seen someone create a baby monitor using Motion iOS, which is a operating system, a security camera operating system built for the Raspberry Pi 4. And basically, what you do, you install this program or this OS, and again, it's all through your local network, and basically hook up a couple of webcams, and you got yourself a home security system or a baby monitor.
Yeah, my cousin was actually talking about doing that with some cameras, making like a full security system for his house using Raspberry Pis. So.
Yeah. The challenge with that is you have to have enough cable to run throughout your house, and we all know with USB, you can only get so far with power and data. So, but there are ways to do it. It's just a lot of work, but it's certainly a lot cheaper than buying a dedicated system. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one I was thinking of it's called a Pi hole. And It's an ad block that basically denies ad servers. So like you're watching someone on Twitch and they send you to break like we did just a little bit ago. Basically it's like sending, like there's a signal that sends a request for like to an ad server. Well, a Pi hole blocks that request to the server. So while you might just get a blank screen, you don't have to necessarily watch ads. Bit of a trade-off, but that's an option for people.
Yeah, if you guys watch Linus Tech Tips, he made a video about it about a year or two ago. He was running Pi-hole on a Pi Zero on top of a VPN. So, and he just used that as an example. Like he was like finding like dirt cheap flights to like Europe or something like that. But yeah, Pi-hole is another great use case for the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, so in terms of, uses, you can do some gaming with it. You can get like retro stuff. You can make your own dedicated computer for it. One thing we mentioned before the show started was it the Raspberry Pi 400 or something? Where it was built, contained into a keyboard. Did he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a Pi 4 inside of a keyboard case.
Mm-hmm.
And the keyboard case is identical to the Raspberry Pi Foundation's keyboard. So same form factor, but now you just have everything on one side now, oriented to the back, so to speak.
Yeah. So you can you can get that like for grandma. It was like literally like $100. So you can get that for grandma if she's just looking at Facebook and playing Candy Crush, or a use case I thought of for that specific product would be for like displays. Like if you're in a retail setting, like you have a TV or something like that you want to like run, marketing imaging for, maybe it faces the outside, something like that can change, kind of like your own little billboard. And then you just have this one dedicated computer that handles that. There's a lot of products out there for it. And there's a lot of use cases, but really the next question I was going to ask you, Jason, was if anyone's interested in getting into Raspberry Pi, what are some of the resources you recommend looking into to start learning?
Sure. So I think you should go into, well, before you purchase a Raspberry Pi, but you're trying to achieve, I wish the Raspberry Pi was around when I was a kid, but
Real quick, we seem to have frozen again. Would you be able to say that again? Start from the beginning.
oh, okay. So,
All right.
are we good?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So if anyone wants to just learn about Raspberry Pis in general, I would encourage them to go over to raspberrypi.org. If I wish it was around when I was a kid because I didn't know that I would be this interested in computers and learning code until I actually got access to one. You know what I mean? They're very affordable. There's a thing called the digital divide, and I think the Raspberry Pi Foundation is trying to help bridge that. But for $35, you have yourself a capable computer that can help you learn how to code or just help you do homework. And it's not it shouldn't be viewed as, well, at least I believe it shouldn't be viewed as a product for kids. Like if you wanted to learn about Linux, or if you wanted to learn about small motors, robotics, that sort of thing, it's something for everyone in this space. So yeah, the raspberrypi.org website. If you want to shop for Raspberry Pi products, of course, Amazon sells them. There's another place in the US called pieshop.us. They strictly sell Raspberry Pis and other maker materials. There's a lot of, going back to the Raspberry Pi Foundation's website, there are a lot of free resources you can just access right from their website. The Beginner's Guide to Raspberry Pis, all of their hardware, their software. If you want to learn about how their power over Ethernet products work, it's all there. So yeah, start with the Raspberry Pi Foundation's website for sure.
Yeah, and then other than yourself, who are some creators, some influencers, or notable people in the space you recommend people follow to learn more about Raspberry Pi and the cool things you can do with it?
Yeah. So if you want to learn about Raspberry Pi and gaming, check out ETA Prime's YouTube channel. If you're into let me see. If you're into Ansible, Kubernetes, learning about that stuff, there's another guy on YouTube, Jeff Geerling. I just learned about him recently, and the guy just breaks everything down when it comes to the Linux kernel, and he's doing all of this stuff on Raspberry Pis. Nova Spirit Tech, Don from Nova Spirit Tech, he kind of crosses over gaming a little bit, Linux stuff. I think he made a video a few years ago. I think he built the first water-cooled Raspberry Pi system. So he's pretty dope. Right now he's working on an Android Auto build for a car he bought, and he 3D printed parts to mount the Raspberry Pi inside his car, and the Raspberry Pi is running Android Auto, so that's pretty awesome. Who else? Oh, real good guy, Tinker Nut. He hasn't dropped a bunch of videos lately, but he is like the grandmaster of Raspberry Pi stuff, in my personal opinion. He's really into the, if you watch his videos, he's really into the steampunk aesthetic, but he's an interesting guy, and he makes a lot of cool Raspberry Pi videos. He did a video recently with the Raspberry Pi Pico. If you guys don't know about it, but basically it's a controller board that the Raspberry Pi Foundation put out a couple of months back, and it's a really cool maker board. Again, if you're into microcontrollers, everything that Adafruit puts out, ADAFRUIT, that whole community is strong too. They have a I mean, I like you just go on a Discord. They have a bunch of makers chatting about stuff, solving problems. Um, yeah. Myself, whenever I do get around to dropping a Raspberry Pi video, I'm more interested in the operating system side of things. And everyone, if you're watching, now will be a good time to snatch up one of these. This is the Compute Module 4. Basically, it's the Raspberry Pi 4 with all of the I/O. So, I mean, if you literally look at it, it's about the footprint of where the CPU and RAM is. But can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, now we can.
But yeah, um, yeah, you basically have a Raspberry Pi 4, which is about the 2/3 of the size of the regular Raspberry Pi board. You just don't have the I/O. The expansion boards for the compute modules are getting really interesting. The company who made or who makes the GPI case, there's rumors going around that they're making another one of these, but it's going to look like sort of like a Nintendo Switch, and it'll be powered by the compute module. You'll just slap this in, and you can just run, whatever retro games you want, PSP, PS1, all of that good stuff.
Nice. So I wanted to ask you one more question here, and that was just tell us about some of the cool things you've done with Raspberry Pi. Some of the things you've got floating around in your workshop, or the things you're using right now. Anything like that. Anything you want to geek out over.
Yeah, so the last set of videos I worked on was essentially running Ubuntu on the Raspberry Pi 4. And these guys who make this case in particular, this is the Argon 1. They've sent me cases in the past, and they make, in my opinion, some of the best Pi 4 cases you can buy for cooling, for I/O. It's just one of the best. If you notice, the I/O on the Raspberry Pi 4 is on all sides, so to speak, like HDMI, USB, GPIO, camera. The Argon 1 case has a daughter board that reorients all of your I/O to the back of your case. So instead of having, some ports on one side, like everything is on the back. So you have HDMI, power, USB, and it looks like a tiny desktop computer, so to speak. Yeah, so I may follow up with another video in that series. I kind of put that on pause, but yeah, I'm more curious about how much power you can get out of these, and how much you can accomplish using these as a desktop computer.
So real quick, I'm gonna piece this together because it decided to give us some trouble again. But you said you're really interested in the amount of power you can get out of the Raspberry Pi 4.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of anything else I wanted to ask. Green, was there anything that you wanted to ask?
um.
No, I don't personally have any questions about Pi. Is there like certain brands like that you would say like steer clear from? Because like I'm looking on a Newegg. Newegg actually has a good selection of pies, but they have like a company called Vilbros, I think, that for like the heat sinks and stuff like that. Um, is it like or Vilros, I think. Is that like a company that like you see frequently, or is it like preferred to like purchase from
Yeah, Vilros.
Canterbury? Yeah.
Yeah, Vilros.
Oh no.
The internet's fighting us today.
It is fighting us hard.
Can't Element 14, what the parent company is called. Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
My bad. Vilros,
It,
Oh.
14. Pie Shop, they don't make anything. I don't think they do official Raspberry Pi products. Pie Maroni, Adafruit. These are just brands that are just.
can we try? Hey, Jason, can we try something real quick? Would you mind ending the video
that I purchased from.
Jason, would you mind if we do something real quick? Because you are coming in and out really hard right now. Would you mind turning the video off? There we go. Wait. Did it leave or turn it?
I think you turned the video off.
Yeah, I think you turned the video off. You still there, Jason?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yes. Okay, what did you last hear me say? My bad.
You were talking about Adafruit and a few others.
Yeah. Continue. Yep.
I think it's still freezing, even in audio.
The last thing I heard you say was Adafruit.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I think it was just like you were talking about Adafruit and a few others, but I don't think we caught like Adafruit. The only one I caught was Adafruit.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So I switched to East.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, those brands: Adafruit, Velros, Element 14, Pie Shop.
Okay. It's fighting us today, my guy.
All right, so we were talking a little bit about brands there. I think we'll do a follow-up with you, just because the internet does seem to be giving us a lot of troubles on one of our ends here. I'm not even sure if you can actually hear me right now. Are you still there, Jason?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's go on ahead and wrap up the show. Jason, we're gonna start with you for a plug. Go on ahead and tell the kind folks out there who you are, what you do, where people can find you, and like suggest 1 or 2 videos that people should check out right now when they get over to your channel.
So if you guys can,
Looks like we lost him.
and yeah.
So look,
we missed your whole plug.
we missed your whole plug. So, guys, check out Jason. The YouTube channel is called The Review Suite on YouTube.com. Link will be in the live chat right now and will be in the description of this episode. You can also find him on Twitter at The Review Suite. Make sure you drop him subscriptions on YouTube and follow him on Twitter to keep up with his stuff. He did just drop a video a week ago on DeSalvo Systems Phineas case for the Raspberry Pi. I still recommend the magnetic VESA mount for the iPad Pro. Green, go on ahead and tell us what's coming up on your channel.
I'm definitely gonna be playing some Destiny. Iron Banner is back this week, so I'm gonna be playing a lot of PvP. I'm also gonna try to sneak in some Apex because it's a special time event this week with the return of Skulltown, like OG Skulltown, and a few other things. So pretty excited for that, and hopefully this weekend we can get in some Hunt Showdown. So, but other than that, you can catch me at twitch.tv/Mr. Greenleet, and also on all my socials at Mr. Greenleet, except for Instagram, which is TTV Mr. Greenleet. YouTube, Apple Podcast, or not Apple Podcast. I'm going through the podcast now. YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff.
Yeah. I'm going to speak real quick for Rev. I don't know what he's got going on his channel. He's dealing with some personal things right now. So, guys, make sure you go send him some good vibes. Make sure if you want to go help support Rev, you check him out, RevsFan on Twitch. I believe it's also RevsFan on YouTube. And you can follow him on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at RevsFanTV. And yeah, go on ahead and send him some love. Coming up on my channel, not really a heck of a lot. I think this Friday I'm going to start Metro Exodus. I tried Void Bastards out last week. I might write a review up on it. I wasn't a terribly huge fan. But yeah, so starting Friday, I'll start Metro Exodus for my single player games. And then probably some Hunt Showdown Saturday night. And then probably Enlisted or Apex on Sunday night. Other than that, if you guys want to catch me anywhere, you can find me on Twitter at Danie K, DANIECAE. You can also find me on Instagram. You can also find me on TikTok, Danie K Media. And of course, Danie K Media on YouTube. Other than that, guys, we also have a question of the week. Our question this week, courtesy of Jason, is how many games are you in your backlog? You can tell us in the chat right now or in the YouTube video comments down below. If you guys missed any part of the show, you guys can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere podcasts are found. If you want to help support the show, you guys can leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment. But the best way to support the show is by telling your friends. Other than that, guys, have a great night. Have a great rest of your week. And we'll see you again next week. Goodbye.
Love you.